Okay, now that the Olympics are over and there's nothing much to talk about in the mainstream media besides the obvious blue versus red in America and all that, the age-old argument of the fats has come back into the forefront, and there's lots of articles, and I think it's because of clickbait, but we all kind of seem to have the same opinion in the comments, at least in Australia. And what am I talking about? Well, before I go there, I'm going to tell you that I have experience in this realm of being a fat. When I left high school, I was extraordinarily depressed, I was bullied, I was all of these things, and I left school at the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I know what it's like to carry that weight around. I know what it's like when you walk in a room and you can tell that people can tell. I know what it's like to be the fat girl in the picture with all your friends. I know all that. Yet, I still have this opinion because I feel it's logical and it's not about feelings. If you know you're going to get on an airborne flying sardine can, why the hell do you weigh that much? As I've mentioned, there's things like depression, and some people have PTSD and it manifests in a way where they just want to keep eating because that makes them happy for a few minutes. There's people that struggle with their weight their whole life because they were brought up that way to have large portions, to not waste their food, or have a parent stand over them. I don't know if you guys get this anymore, but have a parent stand over them and say, you need to eat that, we paid for that, I cooked that, blah, blah, blah. There are starving kids in Africa, wherever, and made to eat, and that's what they do now. They think they have to clear their plate. There are people with problems with their hormonal releases, and sometimes they're susceptible to gaining weight quite quickly. And there are the body positive, body proud, born this way type of woman that thinks, I'm gonna be as fat as I like and you're gonna take it. Hey, I can take it, you can take it, just don't take it on a freaking aeroplane. Because I am tired of when I get there and I have to pay a lot more money if my baggage is 2 kilos over. Yet someone that weighs, say, triple my weight can get on for the same price that I just paid for, and they're going to be crammed next to me. Have you sat next to someone of size? I have. And again, I'm going to share with you, and I apologize to my friend if they are listening to this, but my friend is a big person. And my friend has always been a big person. I've known this person since high school. And during the time, they have fluctuated in their weight, but not much. Throughout the years I've known this person, I've seen the cruel stares. I've seen the kids go, Mommy, why is that person so fat? I've been witnessed to the things that this person has had to put up with, is as well as seeing this person grow in many different ways as we've come into adulthood. One of the things that they do now is they can see when there's going to be a problem. I used to cringe when we were younger thinking, oh, if they sit on that seat, I don't know if that's... And now when we go out, they are able to look at something and say, yeah, you know what, we can't really sit there. And I just go, cool, all right, you know. They've come to accept the fact that we have 8+ billion people in the world, and to cater to one niche group is going to take a lot of planning, a lot of expense, and a lot of hardship when companies and industries that have an influx of customers that's quite constant and they are getting paid for it, they're just not going to do it. As I've said before, I've sat next to someone where unfortunately there is overhang, and in summer it is really not fun. I can't think about how unfun it would be on a 15-hour flight. I think it's possible due to obesity rates and the climbing health factors that probably there will be some kind of airplane where they won't have to pay for double seats or 2 seats. There will be a sort of bigger seat that maybe has a price point that's between 1 and 2. So you don't pay for 2 seats, you don't pay for 1, but you kind of pay for a hybrid because that's what it is. But then I guess you've got to think about the room that it's going to take on the plane. And then on top of it, if you haven't flown for a while or you've never flown, nowadays, some websites have the column for the flight name, they have the column for where it's going, they have the column for the time and all that. And they have this other column that tells you the plane's carbon emissions. So just saying, in future, they're probably going to tack that onto your ticket price as well. Probably not a good time to gain weight in the permanent sense. And the other thing that people like to bring up as well is that if you're morbidly obese, it's just not healthy. Some people aren't making fun of you. Some people want you to live your best life. Some people want you to be able to pick up the parking ticket that you just dropped because it was windy, rather than get your friend to do it because you physically cannot bend over to retrieve it. I don't believe in fat phobia. I don't believe in any phobia. People just don't want to be inconvenienced by the choices that somebody else has made in their own life. We all had similar choices, and maybe we didn't have the upbringing or the issues that that person has. And it's very hard to understand that when you see someone very overweight, you're thinking, Well, look, I really wanted to eat that candy bar too, but I put it down. When I left high school and everything, and I started thinking about the next part of my life and who I would be and different people I would meet and my age and all of that, I kind of stood on the scale and I looked down and I saw the weight number, and I had enough presence of mind to want more for myself. There was a point where I just went, you know what? No. This is not going to happen. I'm not going to be like this anymore. This is not going to be the rest of my life. And I think that people that can't do that or won't do that or don't do that kind of irritate other people who have to deal with the overhang on the summer day when you're sitting next to someone and their flab is on your leg as well. There is enough inconvenience in everybody's life to get them really pissed off when something happens outside of their control. And if you've sat next to someone on an airplane, the whole airplane industry and flying and stuff, it is a tough thing to do. It's very annoying and you have to do all these things and it's rush and you're confused and you didn't go to the bathroom before you went on the plane. Oh shit, I've got to wait till it takes off before I can go. The airline/travel industry is not the place where you want to test how far people's patience and tolerance goes. It's unfortunate, but it's one of those things. It's the same thing I guess people have at Disneyland. If you're too big for a ride, unfortunately, that's your problem. And again, I've been on the other side where I've sat next to somebody on public transport and I'm aware that I'm touching them and I don't want to. And I'm really, really regretful for the fact that we both have to go through this awkward time together. It's just, I don't know what my problem is. I was bullied, I got depressed, I just had this affinity with chocolate for a few years. Help. And I was never morbidly obese or anything like that, but I was considerably overweight for my height. It wasn't something that was always at the forefront of my mind. I wanted to be different, I wanted to look different, but at the same time, I just carried on with my life and it got worse. And I think for a lot of people that are very big, they either think, oh, well, I'm too far gone, who cares? I don't really fly that much, whatever. But when you're put in a situation where you've got no quarter, unfortunately, they can't modify everything. You can't get around it. There's no real quarter for you to sit on a big seat or anything like that. There are weight limits, there are international safety standards and things that companies have to keep up with. You're sort of unlikely to get the kind of treatment you think that you're owed and entitled to based on TikTok videos. And that's another thing I want to bring up. So we have the overweight people that are genuinely overweight for whatever reason. It's glandular, it's big bones, it's whatever they say. Then you've got these people that are trying to get internet clout and internet fame, and they will go to any lengths to do that. That also apparently includes people that have a BBL or deliberately get a certain body part made bigger, and that makes their life more difficult. They might be popular on Instagram because it's freakish or people like that, but the real world doesn't really work out. And these are also people that are demanding something be done about these inadequate seating arrangements on aeroplanes. It reminds me of those people that call themselves trans disabled. You know, the ones that you see the news reports about where nothing's wrong with them physically, but they'll purposely stab out an eye or something to be blind because they've, quote unquote, always felt like they were blind. It smacks of that to me, and I just don't respect it. If you're going to get a big butt glued onto you, which is very risky, and I hope it all goes well for you, Instagram lady, I don't know who I'm talking about, but it's just, you're just adding to the problem, and you're trying to get internet clicks and everyone to fight up for you and be like, oh no, this is really wrong, this poor person, when nobody actually cares. What it comes down to is that people think you are responsible for yourself, and when they see someone that they feel is not being responsible, then they immediately kind of get a bit angry. And if your flab is hanging over them on an airplane for 15 hours, they're not going to really like that, and they're not going to support your cause. To my fats, it sucks. I know it sucks. I know it sucks when you have to get on an airplane and you haven't really thought that far ahead and you were just doing you, and now it's kind of awkward and you're feeling awkward as well as the person next to you, and you don't want to inconvenience anybody, but you are. And you might even feel a bit angry and go make an internet video on how people should treat you, and maybe they should be a little nicer. But what you've essentially done is, because of your choices, you've inconvenienced somebody else, and that immediately makes people a little angry. So when you go off and you make another angry video saying this person is this, you probably need to look at why you were angry. Did they put you on the spot? Did they make you look at your life and what you've allowed yourself to become? Maybe that's it. If you appreciated the video, like and consider subscribing for more.